Welcome back to the workshop. Today's project starts right here at the bandsaw. I'm preparing rough natural edge bowl blanks from fresh wet wood using staghorn, sumac, plum and apple wood. All of these logs are still full of moisture, which means every step during rough turning becomes extremely important. Before any of these pieces can become finished bowls, they first need to survive the drying process. And honestly, this stage often decides everything. Natural edge bowls have always been some of my favorite pieces to create because they preserve part of the original tree in the final design. The bark edge remains visible, the natural curves stay untouched, and every imperfection becomes part of the bowl's personality. No two pieces are ever truly the same. As I begin cutting the rough circles on the bandsaw, I'm already thinking ahead about how the bowls will behave months from now after drying. With wet wood, you're never just thinking about today's shape. You're constantly thinking about movement, moisture, tension, and stability. The orientation of the blank changes everything. A small adjustment here can completely change the final bowl later. Some pieces already show tiny cracks or stress inside the log. Others feel stable and balanced. And with green wood turning, you never fully know what's hidden inside until the first cuts begin on the lathe. That unpredictability is honestly one of the reasons I still love working with wood so much. Every log tells a different story. The workshop also smells completely different when working with fresh wood like this, especially plum and apple. The moment the blade cuts through the wet fibers, the entire shop fills with that fresh natural scent. It's difficult to explain properly unless you've experienced it yourself. I'm curious, have any of you ever worked with freshly cut wood before? Or maybe you've tried making your own bowl blanks from logs? Let me know in the comments because I always enjoy hearing your woodworking experiences and what kinds of wood you enjoy working with. Now that the first blanks are ready, it's finally time to move over to the lathe. In this video, I begin turning the first staghorn sumac bowl blank. This wood always has incredible personality. Sometimes the colors hidden inside sumac almost don't look real once the bowl is fully finished. The first cuts are always rough because the blank is still uneven from the bandsaw. And with wet wood, everything behaves differently compared to dry turning. The sound changes. The tools react differently, and instead of fine dust, the wood creates long, heavy, wet shavings that quickly cover the workshop floor. For this project, I'm using my FindBuyTools turning tools. Most of the rough shaping is done using the 16mm Bowl Gouge, which is my main tool for creating the outside profile and removing material quickly. For some of the finer shaping work, I also use the 16mm Spindle Gouge. And later during refining, I switch to the round scraper to help smooth curves and clean up difficult areas. When working with wet wood, having sharp, reliable tools makes a huge difference, especially during longer turning sessions like this. At this stage, I mainly focus on shaping the outside form first. Natural edge bowls are different from traditional bowls because the bark itself becomes part of the final design. Instead of forcing perfect symmetry, I try to work together with the natural shape of the tree. Sometimes the bark suggests the final form. Sometimes the grain completely changes the direction of the bowl. And honestly, I think that's what makes handmade work feel alive. Every bowl becomes a collaboration between the maker and the wood itself. I start working on the second staghorn sumac bowl blank. Even though it's the same type of wood, you can already see how different this piece behaves compared to the first one. That's one thing I love about wood turning. Even two pieces from the same tree can react completely differently once they reach the lathe Some sections cut beautifully smooth. Others suddenly become softer or harder, depending on grain direction and moisture content. You constantly need to adapt. And honestly, I think that constant problem solving is part of what makes wood turning so satisfying. There's always something new happening. As the bowl slowly takes shape, the natural edge starts revealing more character. This is usually the moment where I begin imagining what the finished bowl may eventually look like after drying and final turning. Some bowls already feel dramatic and bold at this stage. Others feel more elegant and subtle. And sometimes the bowls I expect the least from become the most beautiful finished pieces months later. That unpredictability is part of the beauty of green wood turning. One thing many people don't realize is how much planning happens during rough turning. Even though the bowl still looks unfinished, I'm constantly thinking ahead. How will this area dry? Should this section stay slightly thicker? Will this bark remain attached later? A large part of wood turning happens inside your head before the tool even touches the wood. And patience becomes extremely important. You simply cannot rush wet wood. The wood decides the timeline. If you enjoy these kinds of handmade natural edge bowls, you can also visit FindBuyTools.com, where we have finished handmade bowls available, along with fountain pens, wooden mugs, serving boards, and many other handmade wood turn pieces. Many of the bowls you see there actually started exactly like this, as rough wet blanks spinning on the lathe. I begin working with plum wood. Plum is always interesting because it often hides beautiful color and contrast beneath the surface. Fresh plum wood also smells incredible while turning. You can immediately notice the difference compared to the sumac. The grain behaves differently, the cuts feel different, and the overall character of the wood changes completely. This is another reason why I enjoy working with different species instead of only one type of wood. Every species teaches you something different. As I continue rough shaping the plum bowl, the natural edge slowly begins revealing its own personality. Some bark sections stay strong and stable. Others become fragile and require much lighter cuts. Natural edge turning always demands attention. You can't fully relax for even a moment because the shape is constantly changing as the bark rotates on the lathe. And honestly, I enjoy that challenge. There's something deeply satisfying about taking a rough, wet log and slowly revealing the bowl hidden inside it. At this stage, the priority is still maintaining relatively even wall thickness throughout the bowl. These are rough blanks intended for drying. Perfection comes later. Right now, the goal is stability and preparing the wood correctly for the months ahead. One thing I've learned over time is that natural edge bowls often become even more beautiful after drying. Perfect circles slowly become organic shapes. The wood shifts naturally, the bark changes texture, and the grain becomes even more dramatic. Personally, I love that movement. I don't necessarily want every bowl to look machine perfect. I want them to still feel connected to the original tree. That natural movement gives each bowl character. Apple wood usually creates a much more elegant and refined appearance once finished. The grain often becomes very smooth and subtle, but still incredibly beautiful. And just like the other blanks in this video, this bowl still has a long journey ahead before becoming a finished piece. Drying, final turning, sanding, finishing, that's one thing I truly enjoy sharing here on the channel. Not only the finished product, but the entire journey behind handmade work. Because once you see how much time, patience, and preparation goes into a handmade bowl, you begin appreciating the final piece differently. Wood turning isn't fast. These rough blanks will now dry slowly for months before I can return them to the lathe for final turning. And honestly, that slower process is part of what makes wood turning rewarding. Today, almost everything around us is designed for speed. Fast production, fast replacement, fast consumption. But wood turning still follows nature's timeline. You cannot force a tree to dry faster without consequences. The wood always decides. As the workshop floor slowly fills with wet shavings, the rough forms continue taking shape. Even though these bowls are still unfinished, there's already something satisfying about seeing fresh, raw logs slowly transform into the foundations of future handmade bowls. From rough timber into something that may eventually become part of someone's home for decades. That transformation never really loses its magic for me. And if you'd like to see finished bowls created from pieces like these, or explore some of our other handmade work, feel free to visit pipiawood.com. Your support truly helps us continue creating videos like this and sharing the entire process from raw log to finished piece. I'd also love to ask you one more thing before the video ends. Which wood from today's video would you personally choose for a natural edge bowl in your home? Staghorn, Sumac, Plum or apple wood? Let me know down in the comments, because I always enjoy hearing which styles and woods people connect with the most. Thank you for spending some time here in the workshop with me today. If you enjoyed the process and want to follow these bowls all the way through to their final form, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next stage once they're fully dry and ready for final turning. And as always, thank you for watching.